All right, welcome back to another Jazz Piano School podcast episode, and this is going to be a really special one. I've been waiting a long time to say this, but this is the 200th podcast episode that we have released. I honestly can't believe it. Cue the confetti, right? I wish I had like a party popper, but I don't, and it's not really about me because I'm super grateful that I've been able to deliver all of this amazing free podcast jazz piano education to people all over the world, completely free, and help them out. And we get emails almost every single day, thanking us for the lessons, how much they've learned, the progress they've made, all from this podcast that you're watching right now. When I started Jazz Piano School about 5 to 6 years ago, I never even thought that I would reach this point in our podcast progress, right? I did have some gaps here and there at 45 and things like that, and I was like, oh man, should I continue doing this? But I persevered, I stuck through, and here we are at the 200th podcast. So I have a lot to tell you right now before we jump into the lesson for a good reason, and that is, we have a very special guest today in honor of our 200th podcast episode. And that guest is going to be the great Emmet Cohen. Now, Emmet Cohen is a young lion, bursting out onto the scene right now and already carving a really special place among the jazz greats in jazz history and already leaving an amazing legacy behind with everything that he's doing. Now, I have a list here of just pages of accomplishments that he's done, but notably right now the main project he's working on is the Masters Legacy series, which is really amazing and aligned with me and my vision in the jazz piano education world. And that is, he's delivering a series of albums, interviews, music, honoring the great jazz artists. And it's incredible. And so he's released 4 albums already. And some of those I have to kind of read my notes here just because there's so many. But on those 4 albums, he's already spotlighted Jimmy Cobb, Ron Carter, Benny Golson, Tootie Heath, George Coleman, and he's doing even more. Now, besides that, he does all this correspondence work, not correspondence work, but educational work with Lincoln Center, the Young Arts Program. He's teaching all over the world. He just won in 2019 the American Pianists Award, the Cole Porter Fellow of the American Pianists Association, and he's also the artist in residence at the University of Indianapolis. So besides that, I could go on and on, but Emmet Cohen, okay? You guys need to check him out. He's absolutely fantastic. I love his playing. It's so refined, it's so elegant, and it has bits and pieces of essentially all the great jazz masters included into his style and the atmosphere and sound he creates. So what Emmet's gonna be doing for you guys today is analyzing one of his own arrangements of Like Someone in Love. Now, Emmet's very engaged in Facebook and Instagram, and he actually does a live concert series on his Facebook we should definitely check out, and I'll give you those links in a second. But this analysis is going to be on his arrangement to Like Someone in Love, and he's going to be answering some of the questions that our audience had, I had, and also just teaching on the things that he's doing. Now, to watch that video, okay, of his performance, you can go to the link below, or you can just go to jazzpianoschool.com, find this podcast, and we have links there, all right? But the lesson video you're about to see from Emmet is going to be his analysis on his own performance. So I'd highly recommend you watch his performance first. It's not that long. It's just a short performance and of Like Someone in Love. And then you can watch this and watch the lesson video and his analysis and teaching on this. It's absolutely amazing. So to learn more about Emmet, go to emmetcohen.com. Now, he highly recommends, and I highly recommend, I'm on his email list, and it's really engaging. The things he does on there is really smart. He talks a lot about education. He's really engaging with the audience. He's talking about his shows, promoting his online shows, and doing so much for the jazz education world. It's absolutely fantastic. So you can go to emmetcohen.com/contact to sign up for his email newsletter, and I highly recommend you do that. It's not this boring thing that you usually get. It's actually really engaging and really fun to be a part of his newsletter. So definitely go ahead and do that. One last thing before we dive in to the 200th podcast with Emmet Cohen is that we've compiled a gift for you as well. And that's going to be all of our previous podcast practice materials into one PDF. Now, I understand it's annoying. You want to kind of get the practice materials. You got to search around every single podcast on our website. There's a lot of them, right? Now we're at 200. to get practice materials, but now you can get all of the materials we release for every single podcast. That way, when you go to watch one of our free podcast lessons, you have the materials right there ready to go as you're watching through the lesson. You don't have to opt in, you don't have to do any of that stuff. You'll have all of them right in front of you, okay? So to get that one PDF of all of our previous practice materials, go to jazzpianoschool.com/podcast200. jazzpianoschool.com/podcast200, and we'll send you the one PDF of all of our previous practice materials just combined into one PDF that you can keep, have forever, and use as you listen to all of our previous podcasts. All right? I know that was a lot more than I'm used to talking, but it's a very celebratory time. So without further ado, let's get right into this lesson, this amazing lesson by the great Emmet Cohen. Here we go.
Hey everybody, this is Emmet Cohen coming to you from Harlem. I just want to let you know that this video is in partnership with the Jazz Piano School, and this is their 200th podcast. So I'm honored to be a part of it, and I'm going to talk a little bit about an arrangement I did of Like Someone in Love. And it was conceived in this kind of manner. So that's a little bit of visual on how I navigate the keyboard and the piano. But I wanted to answer some specific questions and talk about a few certain things. And one of those things is balance. When you play the piano, whether you're playing Bach or Chopin or classical music or jazz or anything really, balance is the most important thing. So if I have a melody note like this, or maybe we'll start with the melody. Oops. How to angle the hand in a specific way, maybe with a little tilt, so that you can get the melody to shine out. One of my first piano teachers told me that God played a terrible prank on us and put our heaviest fingers in the middle, and so we have to counter that and balance that our whole lives. If we were to play the accompaniment louder than the melody, it would sound like this. And you get a different sound when you really think about singing the melody out above. And I'm going to maybe play the melody with fingers 4 and 5, try to keep it legato, and also try to make it ring out and sing out. And part of that is the tilt of the hand. That answer is softer because it's a question and an answer. See, even on the big chords, we try to ring the melody note out. And balance has a ton to do with the kind of sound and the effectiveness of communicating a melody. And that goes hand in hand with touch in general. If you have kind of a light touch but a full sound, and that includes pushing to the bottom of the keys. So if I didn't push to the bottom of the keys, it might sound like this. If I did push to the bottom of the keys, it'd sound like this. A little fuller. People ask about specific voicings. That's like an A7 chord over C sharp, going to A flat, 1 over 3. So it's A7, first inversion, and then A flat major, first inversion. We have the 9 to the 1, which sets up a nice suspension like that. Nice suspension there. Sliding right down. So every note there is just a chromatic approach, except for the melody. But yeah, that's the accompaniment. And so I'm really thinking about melody. And melodies are what makes the world go round, especially in an arrangement that you're making at the piano. So if I say the melody, now I have a space to create another counter melody. So that was my counter melody. What if I came up with a different one? That time it was, maybe I could harmonize it. Just intense. That was if I harmonize it in closed voicings. Down in half steps, chromatic. People asked about this chord too. It's just a D flat sus passing. Doesn't really fit with the melody. That's where the touch comes in. If we're light here and we sing that on top, we can make it work. Oh, approach like that. Same thing here. Drop 2 kind of stuff. Drop 2, Barry Harris. Bud Powell. Something kind of Barry Harris would play. Voicings, all from the scale. Same movement here. I had a couple other questions. I modulated a bunch in this arrangement, and none of it was planned. This is just something that I recorded and set up and just played from the heart. And a lot of times when you're playing from the heart, all the other stuff goes out the window, and all of a sudden you're just communicating with the language that you know. It's almost like when you're talking to someone who you're having a really intense conversation, but you don't really have to think about what you're saying. You just feel what you're saying. You feel the things, and they come out because you have the vocabulary. And that's similar to what this is like. So being able to play things in different keys, being able to explore, being able to dig yourself out of a hole if I'm playing some kind of moving thing and I'm not sure where this is going. Sometimes it's cool to even trick myself and try to figure that out on the spot. And that happens sometimes more in keys that I don't play as much in. And so just want to talk about the reharms for a second. If we have, this is the melody note, bass note. So what can we do with those chords, bass and melody, and then fill them in? So, all right, we got A flat major here is probably the best choice, but we can also do like C over A flat. And then for the G chord, we have G in the bass and C in the melody. I like the C7 over G. We can also do minor. G minor 11. To F minor 7. We also have an F sharp in there. What if we wanted to utilize that? So that there I just put an F sharp 7 approach. And then I was going to use the E. So over the E chord, I kind of did a diminished sound. Over the E flat, I did an E flat minor 7 sound. And over the D, I kind of went to a B flat over D. That's F sharp over C sharp, also known as C sharp diminished, to get to the C. So all of a sudden we use all of the bass notes down in chromatic, not just, I'm using all of them. So A flat, C over A flat, G minor 7, F sharp 7, F7, E diminished, E flat minor 11, minor 13, excuse me, 11, 13, B flat over D, F sharp over C, C sharp, and A flat over C. We look for those inner voices that move. The more you play, the more you get familiar with them. Other ways to get around E flat 7. Same chord there. I'm experimenting now. Octaves are a different sound. I'm going to take a couple of questions that we had over this. I did go way out in the transcription, in the transposition world, and I went to A. And then somehow got to E flat, and then I got to E, and then when I came back, I ended on a G diminished chord that was supposed to go here. But I was on the G diminished chord, and I took it to A flat over C. kind of in the moment, in the moment decision to come back to where I started. So there was another question with the time flowing. I think it was it's something I like to do is keep the voices and the motion kind of like water, kind of flowing. So. So right there, I kind of filled in every eighth note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that allows you to kind of get this motion and this push and pull if that's something you desire, and that's something that really works solo piano. And I try to think of the left hand and the right hand as one giant hand. So what am I doing? How am I thinking compositionally, and all the different textures? So am I creating a real dense sound? It's pretty open, but it's also it's a lot less dense than something like this. So on the left hand right there, I was playing something like maybe Chopin would play, or Willie Lyon Smith, jazz pianist who really loved Chopin. And in the right hand, I was just concentrating on the melody. You can also do it in octaves. So I'm finding ways to create counter melodies. It's all about the melodies you find in the different hands and the different ways they interact. And so, yeah, I'm going to look at a couple of other questions. Let's see. Yeah, so the mindset that I was in was I was just trying to use the vocabulary. I was just trying to play naturally. I was trying to play something that flowed, and something that flowed from my heart, and to think of what the song means, to think of what the lyrics mean, to think of how all those things interact, and to really pull the sound out of the piano. I think those are the most important things. And then all of the other reharmonizations and stuff like that, those are just things that come with transcription. They come with sitting at the piano and spending time with it. I think when I went to A, so I spent a few bars really just trying to figure it out and trying to see what kind of sounds interacted with the melody, trying to create some counter melodies. It's really about the way you land. It's really about the way you come out of it. It doesn't really have to do as much with the individual harmonies and this and that. Those things will come. But I always like an overhead view of the piano when someone's playing, so I can say, what is that? So it's good to analyze it. It's good to check it out. It's good to slow it down. It's good to look at it at your own pace and look at it through your own lens and play it first. Say, I want to play exactly what that was, and then I want to analyze it later. Because playing it, it's almost like you learn to say the word before you write it down. You learn to use it in a conversation before you learn all the synonyms and before you decide that you're going to know the definition as it pertains to the Webster's Dictionary. You want to really have it in conversation and then be able to use it. And that's how we learn language when we first learn from our parents or whoever teaches us. And that's how I like to teach and I like to understand jazz piano. So I hope that helps a little bit. I hope that's a good introductory lesson on all this stuff. Feel free to contact me if you have any further questions on Instagram. Hey Emmett, and maybe we'll do a part 2 of this sometime. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to the Jazz Piano School for having me on their 200th podcast, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
All right, wasn't that fantastic, guys? I mean, Emmett Cohen is just an amazing, amazing pianist, an amazing educator. I learned so much from having him guest star, and we're actually probably going to do a part 2 and do an interview with Emmett talking about his uprising, his practice routines, how he got to where he is. So be on the lookout for that later. Obviously, go to jazzpianoschool.com to check out everything we have. Go to emmetcohen.com to check out Emmett's albums. Get on his mailing address at emmetcohen.com/contact. emmetcohen.com/contact. You can get on his newsletter and go ahead and subscribe below. We release a new free podcast lesson like the one you just saw every single Wednesday and a new lick of the week every single Monday. So again, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and as always, happy practicing.